For the fourth time in his career, David Popovici has gone sub 47 seconds in the 100 meters freestyle. And on top of that, in the 200 meters freestyle, he's gone sub 144 at this weekend's LEN under 23s. However, is he an outside pool merchant? Is this just a European performance from him yet again? Can he back it up at the World Championships this summer? Well, let's discuss all. Hello everyone and welcome back to another bonus episode of the Propulsion Swimming Podcast. We said we'd give you guys a little bit more content leading into the summer months and the World Championships, and we've got some more fast swimming that needs to be talked about. A sub 144 200 meters freestyle and a sub 47 second 100 meters freestyle from David Popovici. Dan, so much to go through, but we're going to keep this short, sharp and essentially see what David Popovici could potentially do this summer.
It might be quite difficult to keep it short, actually, because the 200 I thought was actually amazing, being number one in the world right now, and then suddenly throws down a 46.7 in the 100. Well, where do you want to begin? Should we start with chronological order? You did the 200 first?
Yeah, I think let's give a bit of a background to the competition. So some Americans listening, some Aussies listening who maybe don't know LEN under 23s is a new competition from European Aquatics to help bridge the gap from European juniors, which is a huge competition over here, to senior level. David Popovici, does he belong at this meet? Probably not in the spirit of what the meet is. However, for him, it's fantastic prep for World Championships this summer.
He does always swim very well outside. Every big swim he's done, plus it's always been in European races as well. So it's always been outside, it's always been European races, and we've actually had a comment or two before saying, does he choke under the big pressure of Worlds, Olympics? I mean, he is Olympic champion, so he doesn't choke too much, but in terms of times, he is substantially lower. So I suppose there's a question to be talked about, and maybe we'll discuss it in this little bonus pod, but yeah, it's an interesting one that he always does go quicker in European meets.
Especially, we'll get to the 100 free, and I think maybe we'll talk about it more there, and it's weird, like, there's a pattern with where he swam his fastest swims and how he swam them.
Yes.
And it is always in Europe. It is European races. So, yeah, we'll jump into that. But like you said, I think let's start with the 200 meters freestyle. So, for those who aren't aware, David Popovici has gone a 1:43.64, 1.1 seconds faster than in Paris. It makes him the fastest man in the world this year, faster than Luke Hobson's 1:43.73. And I think there's still potentially more in the tank.
I suppose based on PB, you're gonna have to say yes. He's gone half a second quicker. He's quite consistent, I think. We talk about how good Kayla McEwen is over a 200 distance on the backstroke, and actually David Popovici isn't too dissimilar. You look at the splits that he's just swam. 24.0 obviously is pretty decent for his first 50, but the next 350s are all 26 mids, roughly speaking, which is extremely consistent. Like, it's very difficult to compete with that. And then you take Luke Hobson, for example, who did take it out a little bit stronger and then faded on the final 50. Different ways of swimming it. Obviously, I prefer getting out there and then holding on, a bit like what Hobson did. But you can't take away from what Popovici is doing. He is doing something special, and only at the age of 20 as well. I think we kind of do forget how young he still is.
I mean, he's been in the sport for a while, hasn't he, already?
Yeah.
Let's put on the screen now the three races that we're talking about here. So the race that he's just swam at the LEN under 23s, the splits that he's done for that 200 meters freestyle, his personal best, which is a 1:42.97, the only man in a textile suit to go sub 1:43, and Luke Hobson's 1:43.73. And let's see where they stack up, and potentially, like I said, where Popovici can make a move this summer, go even faster, and yeah, can Hobson actually put pressure on him, compete with him? Because looking at these splits, I'm not sure that he can. Because if we go from 100 onwards, so Hobson's 100 time, he's turned faster than Popovici has at this meet and his personal best, 50.05. Whereas Popovici, it does tend to turn on a 50.3, around that sort of mark, which is near on, bang on split. But then Hobson comes back, okay, 150, comes back even harder, 26.19. Popovici, whenever he's swam a good 200 free. It's 26.6. But then Hobson faded even, at the US trials, where he went at 27.39. Now, that could be different when he's got Popovici next to him. He's got a bit more competition. He's not in open water by himself. But he got 27.39 compared to Popovici. Like, even the swim that he's just done, where he's gone 0.1 faster than Hobson, he came back a lot stronger in the 26.55. And then his personal best, he's come back in a 26.01. I'd always prefer to be the swimmer coming home faster than the swimmer hanging on.
Oh, would you? See, I'd be the other way around.
Oh, would you really?
I think it'll come down to the actual race itself, obviously, because you've got to throw someone like Martins in there, throw the Brits in there, Hwang Sun-woo, loads of other people that can go sub 45 at least. I don't know how many can go sub 44, mind you, so these two are kind of by themselves at the moment. But it'll come down to the race, and like you say, both those swims that they did very recently, they were in open water. They won by a good second or two in Popovic's case. So it'll be very different on the day in Singapore, because I imagine they'll be shoulder to shoulder, or Popovici will be on the hips of Hobson if we're going to go based on knee splits. It's going to be a fantastic race, but it's whether Popovici can actually do it again on a bigger stage in a different pool that is inside. Whether he can do that or not.
I messaged someone on Instagram, just a joke. I think he's a plant. He needs photosynthesis for that extra bit of speed. He's half plant.
It's the vitamin D, isn't it, from the sun or something? Yeah.
That's what it is. Sure. Humans don't photosynthesize, obviously. I think for me, we're 4 weeks out from Worlds. The difference in Popovic's 1:43.6 that he's just gone and his PB of a 1:42.9, it is that final 50. And the scary thing, if you're the rest of the world, surely he's not tapered for LEN under 23s. Surely he's 4 weeks out from Worlds. You'll probably start and taper in a week, 2 weeks.
Something like that.
That extra bit of rest. Now, some swimmers react differently to taper. The distance swimmers don't necessarily need a taper. They tend to keep their meterage high, and intensity is what it is, and they race at a certain pace. But I'm imagining with a tiny bit more rest, that final 50, that might be the difference. I don't see the pacing in the first 150 needing to change. I think that's bang on. I think it might just be that extra bit of rest.
The 450 is good, and then he maybe just isn't quite up to full sharpness to go his sub 443 that he did back in, when was that, 2022, I think it was, 2-3 years ago. I suppose you're probably right, but then you look at Summer McIntosh, and she's kind of, I imagine, in the same sort of boat, hitting these amazing times. I imagine, or we've actually heard that she wasn't fully tapered. Surely Popovici wasn't tapered for this. He doesn't need to. He's going to win it anyway. Like you said, I don't think he actually needs to race this. He just likes racing in Europe. Maybe it's just,
it's a good prep meet. At the same time, like, it's just, every British swimmer right now is racing Seti Collie. So he's gone and raced this, and you look at where he is at compared to when Brits are at, the same racing weekend. Obviously, people's training cycles are completely different. It's hard to compare in-season racing. But surely he gets faster.
You would have thought so, wouldn't you? You really would have thought so. It might be a case of, we don't want to talk about it too much, but we always do bring it up, but that first cycle, or first year of the cycle, where the pressure just really isn't on.
He's got his first Olympic title. So, the pressure is gone. Surely.
Yeah, I suppose that could be part of it. We'll get to the 100 in a minute, because that's even better than this 200. But surely there's better things to come. And if you are chasing someone like Luke Hobson, who is theoretically going to be ahead of him at 150, he's pretty good at reeling people in, as we are going to talk about now on the 100, I think, because it was pretty swift.
Right, 100 meters freestyle then, Dan, a 46.71, 0.15 seconds faster than his personal best. European record, second fastest ever. He's a long way clear of Cesar Cheo now in third.
Yeah.
And again, this is pure back-end speed that's done this.
Honestly, incredible. I think it's the first man in history actually to go a sub 24 on the final 50. I'm pretty sure he was one of the strongest on the back end anyway. We always talk about how good Chalmers is, but actually it's Popovici.
Has that title gone?
Yeah, it has to, doesn't it?
Yes.
Honestly, a 23.9 coming back on a 23.9 on a 100-meter split is incredible. And he went out at 22.7, which is...
It's not like he's gone slow going out.
No, but it's not rapid either. It's not like your Pan Zhanle stupid time. 22.7, yeah, 22.7 is actually kind of where you should be if you're going to go a 47.0 or sub 47, I think. But the back end speed is honestly incredible. The stroke rate you have, I don't know if you've watched the race, but it is almost like a windmill. It's a gallop stroke and he's going up and down, but the arms are just, as soon as his hand enters the water, he's catching and pulling immediately. That there's no gliding. It's literally just the quickest turnover for a 100-meter swimmer anyway. But yeah, honestly, it's an amazing race.
Shall we talk elephant in the room then, before we compare Popovici to Pan Zhanle? And I would say maybe how he beats him this summer, but looking at the splits, it's mad. Yeah. It's quite a weird comparison. All of his fast back-end swims, so all of his really, really good races, of which he's got 4 in the top 6, and I think 5 in the top 10, they are all in Europe. They are all European races. He is not next to Pan Zhanle. He's not next to Kyle Chalmers. He's not next to Jack Alexi. Yep. Is that something to be concerned about?
Well, he's always in open, clear water because he's at the front. And you think, well, if you're racing someone like Pan, and if he's going to go anything near his world record where he's gone 22.2, you're going to be behind. Does that actually affect his stroke then? Or does that actually help him because he can maybe ride the wave a little bit? But he's always been out in front by half a bod length or so. And it's easier in open water, I think, in clear water. So maybe that will be a talking point, I suppose.
Do you think that's the physical difference in these times, that in Europe he is by himself?
I try not to think of it as a psychological issue or problem or anything like that, because he's Olympic champion and I think he's kind of got over that. But it just seems he does it in European races, yeah. But you do have some swimmers who actually prefer swimming in the wash. Duncan Scott, pretty good at the back end speed if you can ride someone's wave. So depends on the type of swimmer you are, and he seems to be better. Maybe it helps with his technique when the water is a bit more peaceful, not so choppy.
Maybe. But we're 4 weeks out and he's going to 46.7. So there's still room to grow. I think he put on his story, literally just before we started recording this podcast, of a loading symbol. I think it's just the beginning of what he's capable of. If he's to challenge Pan, so the two splits and how they compare, it is the first 50. Actually, Pan's back half of his world record swim is phenomenal. He came back in a 24.12. The difference is half a second on the first 50. So if... That's weird. It's completely different to how we said worlds for the 200. Popovici is going to need to bring it home faster than he did. Like, he's going to need faster backhand speed to... it's not even to beat Hobson. It's to get down to a 142 we were talking about, which is nuts.
Yeah.
For him to challenge Pan, he needs to go out faster, which I don't know then if it does hurt his backhand speed.
Well, it would do. Yes, it would do. And based on what you kind of just said, and I kind of agree, that his perfect 50 split at the beginning is about the 22.678 sort of mark. And then he has enough to come back a sub 24, clearly. And that's his strength, obviously, because he's got the top 3 fastest back-end 50s ever. And like you say, the 4 of the top 6. And that's his biggest strength. So you've got to play to your advantages. If you go out, like he's capable of going 22, 3 or 4, but then that's going to absolutely kill him, ready for the final 50. And I think that Pan world record was just perfect. I talk about the 100 backstroke being perfect for Chacon at the time, and I think if you're going a 22.2 for Pan and is still coming back at 24.1, honestly, he must have analysed every single 5 metres of that race, and it must have been absolutely bang on. I mean, you can have a perfect race. Obviously, it's just very rare. And I think it's one of those races. Will he ever get down to that time? We'll never know, because he's only gone 47.7 this year. So he's a good second off.
This is my next question for you. Okay. We've talked a lot on previous podcasts who's the favourite for the 200 metres freestyle. Who's the favourite for the 1 now?
Popovici, I suppose you have to say.
Because we don't know what Pan's...
Just because, yeah. I mean, I literally, when we were speaking about who's the favourite for the 200 for Worlds, I was very much like, I think it's Popovici, but again, I don't know where he's at. Now I'm quite confident that he is favourite for the 200, luckily. But for the 100, I don't know, because you could throw Jack Alexi in there. I think he could go faster than his 46.9 that he did at trials.
Chalmers looked very good at his trials.
Chalmers is looking very good. You have the Santos, the Brazilian. There's a number of swimmers there who are all getting quicker. Like the depth in general is getting quicker and quicker. What is it? The top 10 of 47.4 below that. It's incredible.
Let's be honest. Real world situation though. If Pan has gone a 46.4 and he hasn't had, we don't know this. In an ideal world, he hasn't had a massive extended break off the Olympic Games. There should be no question that he loses. But his swims this year don't show that. So actually, I kind of agree that Popovici is the favourite going in.
You have to be. I think you have to be. If you're number one going in, obviously that's a certain title to take into a world champs. But you kind of have to be. Pan, he's 11th this year, which is very good, obviously. But when you're the world record holder, it's kind of it's not ideal. You should be
1.5, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a lot. It is a lot. But obviously, he could put him in a situation where he is racing the very best in the world again, and then he might throw something out the bag, and you never really know. But yeah, I mean, it must be down to these two because they both hold the top, I think, 9 of the top 10 in history in this event now.
Yeah, I mean, Jack Alexi's getting there. There or thereabouts.
He is getting there. Yeah, he is getting there. That 50 speed of his is helpful.
That could put pressure on maybe Popovici more than Pan.
Possibly, yes. Probably, yeah. But he's got to do it in the final. He seems to do these times in the heats. But we're not talking about Alexi. That was another topic of conversation. But yeah, theoretically, it should be between a 2-horse race. But Pan is the question mark, which I suppose makes it exciting because we just no one knows.
Okay, if you're watching this on YouTube, let us know in the comment section below who is now your favourite for the 200 meters freestyle and the 100 meters freestyle. We've already put out a clip of the 200 meters freestyle. I know it's done quite well on YouTube, but time to have a refresh only 2 weeks later, because I'm jumping off the horse that I was originally on, and I'm going with you, Dan, and just saying, look, Popovici looks so good. Like deep down, we're both going to be supporting the Brits, but with our head right now, that's a very good weekend's work that he's just had at Elian under 23s. Better than anyone else in the world right now.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, Hobson is his nearest challenger in the 200. I wouldn't write off Martins. And then the 100, I think he is going to have to be the favourite right now. Just depends what Pan does in the heats, and then we will know. And then we're like, oh, Pan has turned up. So yeah, we'll see.
Okay, before we finish this week's podcast, I just want to let you guys know that the Propulsion Swimming Podcast is brought to you in partnership with One Flow Aquatics out in Summer Bay, the newest training camp destination on the Red Sea in Egypt. And if you want to book your next training camp there, or even if you want to inquire about the facilities or what it would cost to go there on your next training camp, you can use the link in the description of this podcast, which will take you over to sports booking agents, Sports Abroad, and they can handle all your inquiries from there. But Dan, another bonus episode done. We've got an interview coming this week, but there's so much to talk about. There's Elian under 23s from a British perspective. There might be more podcasts coming out soon, so make sure you're subscribed on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify so that your inbox is up to date, basically, because I don't entirely know what our schedule looks like over the next few weeks.
True.
But until then, I'll see you in a few days' time.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll catch you on the next one.
You've been listening to the Propulsion Swimming Podcast with Scott and Dan. We want to thank you for joining us and invite you to subscribe to the show, as well as checking out the Propulsion Swimming YouTube channel for weekly tutorials and videos to get your swimming fix. We will be back next week. Until then, we'll catch you on the next one.